These two boxes of Rallyman are jam-packed with possibilities, and it's my intention to highlight all of the interesting things you can do with them. This is Shakedown. In today's Shakedown, we're having a look at another touring car series with a rich and much-loved history. Can we emulate the Deutsche Tourenwagen masters of the past? Stretching back to the early 1980s, the DTM was the German equivalent of the British Touring Car Championship, where bog-standard cars got beefy racing modifications for a load more bumper-to-bumper action. Much of the appeal was in seeing the kinds of cars you might end up driving yourself, albeit in civilian spec as it were, and when they raced on street circuits it was even easier to imagine yourself as a competent racer. The Norris Ring here is a perfect example of streets being turned into circuits, but the DTM was also home to a test circuit that was turned into a street that was occasionally turned back into a circuit, and that's where we'll be having a closer look at the Rallyman DTM. We've got a variant layout of the AVUS circuit in front of us, thankfully much shorter than its original length, but we'll be driving around it twice so that we can better test some of the other rules in use today. You can find the circuit in Rallyman DTM, which is a small collection of circuits, NPCs and rule suggestions to bring the DTM to your table. We're going to be battling against 4 of those NPCs, though one of whom you might be familiar with from the BTCC. Frank Bieler was one of a number of drivers to have competed in multiple touring car championships over their career, and he was a champion in multiple championships too. Alongside him are Ellen Law, the only female driver to win a DTM race, Nicola Larini, who dominated in his Alfa Romeo, and Klaus Ludwig, who is adept in seemingly anything you put him behind the wheel of. They'll all be run at their medium difficulty. While modern DTM is run to GT3 specifications, which is the equivalent of Rallyman's GT6 car class, I'm going back in time to make use of the TC5s from Rallyman BTCC. A double upshift instead of a boost die will increase the likelihood of crashes for us, a problem the NPCs won't have to worry about so much, so let's actually spend some focus tokens in this race as opposed to letting them pile up. For the sake of simplicity, and absolutely not because I haven't printed any others, everyone is on asphalt tyres with no chance to pit for anything different, though of course we can all pit for repairs if needed. I mentioned there are some rules suggestions that we could make use of to give us more of that DTM feeling, but the only one we'll make use of today is the rolling start rule, which simply says that the race begins with all cars in gear 2 instead of gear 0. It probably won't make any difference around this particular circuit, but it's a simple rule change that we can remember going forward that might mix up any kind of Rallyman race you want to run, DTM themed or not. Finally, we're going to bring the Meteo GT weather rules back to the table for a better look. This time out there is the threat of rain and fog, which both come with situational rules that we may or may not get to see, depending on the results of the die roll. As I say, everyone is on dry tyres, so while we hope to see the rain for the sake of the rules, we also hope it won't cause us too much trouble. There is, of course, only one way to find out. It's a cloudy start at AVUS, and the rolling start doesn't cause any problems for the drivers on their way down to the hairpin. It's Ellen Law and Nicola Larini on the front row. I am alongside Frank Bieler, and Klaus Ludwig is at the back. Next round we're going to check the weather, and it is going to be a 1, and on a 1 we move from cloudy conditions into foggy conditions. So it is still a dry race, but now we all have a loss of control limit of 2 instead of 3 as the fog descends. And should we ever come alongside a car that is stopped in gear 0, we also have additional speed limits imposed upon us. We'll get to that if and when it comes up. Let's see what Ellen Law wants to do. She is going to need to re-roll 5th gear and adds a hazard to her roll. I think what she's going to do is slow down all the way to 1st gear, leaving the inside open for Larini. So he's going to finish on the inside in 2nd gear, but will the cars behind have any better strategies to take turn order from him? Can we upset the front runners then by ending in 3rd? I think to do that we will need to double upshift from 1st. So that would be either a crash if we roll a hazard, or safe if we roll gear 3. We do have the focus to pay for things, so I'm going to play it safe and roll one by one, see how far we get. We have one hazard on gear 4, and we are going to pay for gear 3. I absolutely do not want to roll it and risk crashing, so we're going to finish here in 3rd gear. Next up, Frank Bieler. He is going to, I think, be able to do the same as us. He takes turn order because we left the inside open, so he is going to show us how to navigate the hairpin at the bottom. Finally, let's see what Ludwig does. I think he's just going to bide his time and slow down before the corner there in 1st gear. The fog lifts, which is good because I forgot about the loss of control limit on the last turn. No one was affected by it, and Frank is about to show us how to get through this hairpin. He's going to go 3rd, brake down to 1st, into 2nd, coast out the other side, and then get up to 4th and into 5th like that. That's how to do it then. 2nd, 1st, coast, they're all good. We're going to pay for gear 3 because it's a double upshift. I don't want to crash so early on, and the 5th gear was our only hazard for the turn. We finish alongside Bieler in 5th gear. Larini is next. He's got a couple of hazards to worry about. I don't think he's too concerned. He can get into 2nd gear there and then just go up through the gears. He will have to double upshift into 5th in order to come alongside us. Does he then want to get some distance and drop to 4th? I think he might. It's a 2-lap race and there's plenty of time to secure an overtake when it matters. Let's have him go into 4th gear there then and see what happens. Is it possible for Ellen to do the same thing? And not only that, Larini has left the door open for turn order as well. Ellen is going to finish there in 4th gear. Klaus Ludwig is next, and he has nothing really to worry about except for the fact that he is so far away from the hairpin that he's going to have some trouble. Thanks to these speed limits on the inside, he has to be here in 1st gear. So he's going to have to do a lot on the next few turns to try and claw that back. Let's see what the weather does in the meantime as we go into another round. The heavens start to open up. We are now into a wet race, so we have a loss of control limit of 2 on these tyres. We lose the use of 1 brake die. Who is concerned about that the most? On the inside for turn order then is Frank Bieler in 5th gear. So let's have him descend through the gears and get into this space here in 2nd gear as he goes through the chicane without any issues. We would like to match that, but 2 hazards is exactly enough to lose control. We make it to the chicane, but certainly not through it. We are going to end in gear 00, ruining our chances for a good race. Let's see what Ellen Law can do. She's going to finish where we wanted to finish, in 2nd gear. And that will block up the track for Larini behind her. Let's see how Ludwig can claw his way back into this race. He's going to finish there in 5th gear. Next round, we're going to check the weather, and it is a 4. The drizzle starts to disappear. We are back into a dry race. We're then going to see what Ludwig can do. We know he doesn't have a whole lot to do. He gets into 2nd gear around the outside of Larini. Frank Bieler is going to try to run away with this. He's got a lot of hazards. He has escaped a loss of control. The only gear die that didn't show a hazard was 4th gear. So, what can he do with 3 hazards? He can go into 3rd gear, into 4th gear, like that. He can coast there. He does have the efficient trait where he can ignore a hazard on a gear die. So what we can do is actually extend that run by 1 space, put him there in 2nd, and if he uses his trait to ignore a hazard, he can do a run like that as he finishes in 5th on the inside of what used to be a very steep banked corner. Can Ellen Law keep pace? She can. Into 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and sit 1 space behind Frank. Can't do anything with her coast die, that would be her 3rd hazard. Larini is next, and he's just going to get into 5th gear and threaten these front runners. And finally, we rejoin the track in gear 0 and are able to do absolutely nothing. The rain comes back, it's back down to drizzles. Luckily for Frank Bieler there, he does have enough dice to make it to the corner. So he is going to hope to not see too many hazards on the breakdown to 3rd gear. He gets just the 1. He does have another one, however, on 5th gear. He is efficient, so he may ignore it, and that's what he's going to do for a strong end to lap number 1. Ellen Law needs to catch up. She is going to re-roll that die, adds another hazard to her pool. She can break down to... Does she need to break down to anything just yet? Let's have her go into 4th there, break down to 2nd. She can coast through. She can go into 3rd only if she re-rolls this die and it comes up blank, which it doesn't. So she's unfortunately either stuck there in 2nd or goes for distance and ends there in 1st. Let's have her go for distance and end in 1st gear then. Let's see if Larini can get the overtake done. He gets around the corner with no problems. Ludwig is next. We'll potentially get the jump on Ellen on the next turn. 5 clean dice gets us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces of movement. We finish in 5th gear. The weather doesn't know what it wants to do, as it is now a dry race once more, and Frank Bieler is next. He has a lot of hazards on his gear dice. Not enough to lose control, but enough to concern him. He wants to stay in 5th gear if that's possible. He is going to have to be consistent and try to get rid of this hazard, which he does. He can go into 3rd and then into 4th. He could then go into 5th like that. If he is efficient, and he is, he can ignore the hazard on, let's see, gear 3 and use that as a double upshift from 1st gear in order to get him 1 extra space of movement there. You probably want to go to the inside to protect turn order. Down onto the straight on lap 2. Larini is next. Can he do something very similar? No, he can't, because his 3rd gear is a hazard. That's the best that he can do. A couple of spaces behind Frank ahead. That'll be Ludwig's turn as he carves his way through the pack. We are next. We've got the focus to pay for things, so let's see how far we get. Hazard on gear 3. Gear 2 is alright. We'll pay for the double upshift into 4th, and we can roll the 5th gear. No matter what happens, we get there onto the corner in 5th gear. Finally, what can Ellen do? Luckily for her, her TC5 has 2 double upshifts. She can use one of them to get into 3rd gear in that space behind Ludwig. She would then have to use the other one to get alongside Ludwig. However, she will need to use her determined trait to try and get rid of the hazard, which she fails to do. The best that Ellen Law can do on her turn is to finish there in 3rd gear. Another weather check. It is a 6, and on a 6 it gets even sunnier. So we are not going to see the fog rules or the storm rules just yet. We are instead going to bask in the sunshine. So let's see what Frank Bieler can do in these luxurious dry conditions. Probably want to keep his speed up. He'll finish there in 5th gear. Larini then wants to keep pace. Not ideal as Bieler ahead starts to pull away. Ludwig is next, and he is going to have no problems whatsoever. Uses all of his dice in order to chase down Larini ahead. We are in need of overtaking Ellen ahead of us. That's going to be done with a breakdown to 3rd gear. into fourth gear. No it isn't, it's going to be a double upshift into fourth gear and then an overtake in fifth gear. And I don't think that will hold Ellen back for long. Let's see what we do one by one. We're going to pay for this double upshift. I am sceptical that it will roll safe. Gear 5 is a formality as we overtake Ellen. Can Ellen overtake? She finishes there in second gear. We check the weather once again on a 1, 2, 3. The clouds come back. It is a 2. The clouds come back. Let's see what Frank can do. I think he's just going to want to slow down for this corner because of course we have that problem with first gear somewhere over there, don't we? Could come out in second, could somehow come out in fourth. So we can go fifth and then break down to third and then break down to first. However, we've got too many hazards. What can Frank do? He may ignore a hazard on a gear result, so he will just ignore that hazard there and he will get all the way up to fourth gear on the other side of the hairpin. Larini manages a fifth gear finish. Is it enough to keep Klaus Ludwig behind him? Ludwig is slowly closing the gap to second place. He finishes one space behind Larini in fifth gear. We are struggling with our damage as we go flat out to cross the finish line at the end of our first lap. And we have Ellen Law ahead of us. She's going to just go up through the gearbox to finish in fifth gear once more. On a 2 or a 3, the rains come. It is a 2. We're now into a wet race once more as the drizzle starts to drizzle for what must be the third time. Let's see then what Larini can do. He does come alongside Frank Bieler for the time being. It's not first place just yet, but it certainly looked threatening. What can Klaus Ludwig do? Fifth, fourth, break down to second. And he can finish there in third gear, just behind Frank Bieler. Ellen is going to have to re-roll that die. I think she'll just finish on the first part of the hairpin in second gear. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces of movement is all we can do in our damaged car. And finally, Frank Bieler is going to extend his lead. He is going to need to use his efficient trait in order to ignore a hazard on a gear die, such that he can get down through the gears. He won't be able to place his coast die down unless he can re-roll this hazard away with his consistent trait, and he will finish there in second gear. Pretty good turn for him as he manages to navigate the chicane. On a 1 or a 2, the showers start to appear. It is a 2. We are very much in a wet race. Are we going to see it finish in a storm? Let's find out who's going first. It is Larini to go first. He wants to slow down for the corner then. And does that mean that Ludwig has a chance to overtake? Before that happens, we of course have to do our customary 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces of movement as we trundle our way down the track. Ludwig secures a fourth gear finish around the outside of Larini. Bieler to stretch his lead. He was close to losing control. Hazards on gears 2 and 3. I think he's just going to go into second gear, coast, double upshift into fourth and then into fifth. He is efficient. He may ignore the hazard on third gear, so he doesn't even need to double upshift. He can just ignore the hazard and thus stay within his loss of control limit. He is in fifth gear before the final corner. The victory is very much his. And finally, to finish the round, Ellen Law at the hairpin. She is going to have no issues getting into fifth gear if she wants to, just behind Klaus Ludwig. On a 1, it gets stormy. And it is a 1. We are now into very stormy conditions. Everyone loses the use of 1 brake die, meaning we have no brakes available on this next turn. And Frank is about to be caught out. He goes into the first corner in fourth gear. It breaks the speed limit of gear 3. Let's see, it's a yellow tile who draws no damage, but unfortunately for the leader, he crashes out into gear 00. And so we see what Ellen Law can do. She has no brakes, so she's going to spin out in the chicane in second gear. She remains on track. We're going to pay an awful lot of focus to go down through the gears. Next up is Klaus Ludwig, and he also has a problem. That is a crash off track in gear 00. His damage token is -1 brake. Larini is unfortunately blocked. He can't push Ellen out of the way. We're not using those rules today. He finishes there in first gear. Did any of you spot what I didn't spot until just now? That's right, Ellen Law should have crashed in third gear, which would have put her off track in gear 00 and therefore allowed Larini to sail through the chicane without any problems and likely go on to win. Alas, in this universe, the storm wipes out half of the drivers before immediately disappearing with a roll of a 6. It's a sunny day once more, and we pick up with past me about to be confidently incorrect and say with unwarranted certainty, we simply cannot predict what is going to happen in this race, but we do know that Larini is going first and still can't do anything, and we are going second. And now we can close the gap. We're going to pay 1 focus to secure 5th gear finish. Next up is Ellen. She is going to spin back around and probably have the best chance of all of us at winning this race. Into first gear she goes. She has nothing to worry about really, although she will use her determined trait to try and get rid of this hazard on gear 2, which she manages. That will allow her to use that coast die in order to get all the way up through the gears to end in 5th gear there. Bieler and Ludwig return to the track in gear 0. Next round, what does the weather do? The weather on a 4 does not move. We are in stable conditions for the time being. What will Ellen Law do to try to get a win? She has picked up a hazard on 5th gear, and she does have to go around the outside in order to get past Bieler ahead. So if she goes into 5th there, she can drop into 3rd around the outside. She can then coast like that. She can drop to 2nd, double upshift to 4th on the inside and make it as difficult as possible for the cars behind. I suppose if she wants to be particularly troublesome, she should not go into 2nd at all and just go there in 4th. And that will block Frank behind in order to secure the win. Unless cars can get up to 5th and somehow find a way to overtake them both. We need to carve our way through these cars. We have 1 brake die, no coast die. So let's go 4, brake into 2nd and then get annoying into 1st gear there. We could try to double upshift into 3rd and then double upshift into 5th. I think that's the best we can do. Let's roll 1 by 1. We do not have a lot of focus to work with as we go down into 2nd gear. Into 1st, that's fine. We do have enough to pay for both of these double upshifts, and that is what we are going to do to secure a 5th gear finish. Larini is next. Can finally move after being blocked on a number of occasions. So Frank Bieler's next, and we know he can't do anything to come alongside Ellen Law, so he is stuck there in gear 0. Klaus Ludwig is unfortunately stuck behind us in 3rd gear. I'm not liking any of our options. We are going to slow down to 2nd gear before the final corner. I don't think we've done enough to keep Larini behind us. Let's see what Ellen can do in order to potentially finish this race. She needs to re-roll 5th gear, doesn't pick up a hazard. That's good for her. She's going to brake down to 2nd gear, drop into 1st, double upshift into 3rd, 4th, 5th, and a coast across the line gives Ellen Law her 2nd DTM victory. 1 around Hockenheim and 1 where it matters in Rallyman. Larini goes around the outside for a 5th gear finish, but it's not far enough to trouble Bieler, who will easily secure 2nd place on the next turn. Ludwig finishes alongside us in 5th gear as well, meaning we have pretty much thrown away any chance we had of a good finish, but then that probably happened all the way back on the first lap, and going for speed rather than distance down the really rather long straight didn't help much either. We at least make it around the final corner for a wonderful 3-wide finish, but there's just no way of getting into the inside lane where it matters, So Larini holds on to third place, Ludwig gets fourth, and we are last to cross the AVUS finish line. So, not for the first time, errors got in the way of a legitimate result. Law's victory has an asterisk next to it in the Rallyman record books, but at the end of the day, does it matter that we get the odd rule wrong from time to time? Not at all. Half of the rules aren't even written correctly in the rulebooks anyway, from what Board Game Geek tells me, so as long as we have a good time, we're golden. Did we have a good time then? I think this circuit is far more of a strategic puzzle than it might look at first glance. You'd like to keep your speed up on the long straight, but what's the best setup for that low speed hairpin at the bottom? Do you slam on the brakes as late as possible and hope for the best, or is it a case of slow in, fast out? The NPCs, as ever, are designed to give you the feel of a particular driver. Ludwig certainly felt capable no matter his dice rolls. It was strategy that let him down today, but I did tend to forget Larini's sharp trait. That would have changed his line through the circuit compared to the other drivers and mixed things up even more. So I've got some learning to do with regards to ignoring changeable speed limits. Speaking of changeable, the weather sure did change a lot, didn't it? We were checking it every turn and were making use of the fast weather icons to have it change more often, so if you want to tone it down a tad, that's easily done by checking the weather every other turn instead. I'm not terribly keen on the racing conditions flip-flopping from dry to wet to dry in an instant, but you can again mitigate that by not checking the weather so frequently, or of course by trying out a milder forecast. But then where would all the fun circumstantial weather rules be found? To have multiple cars spin off because of a change in weather and a lack of brake dice is exactly the kind of dumb fun we might want sometimes. Serves you right for parking on the inside lane and not thinking about the possibility of a change in weather. Though given I was in control of everyone today, that sounds like a me problem. I really ought to play more cautiously. Will your days in the DTM be more successful than mine? It's a low bar, so I'm sure you'll manage it. And don't forget that O'Daly has a whole bunch more circuits that the DTM made use of in his Real Circuits collection, so you can run a full season if you like. Wherever, whatever and however you race, just be sure to have fun doing it.